Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, whenever or wherever you are in the world. My name is Mark Edwards, and this is the Channel's Own podcast. Today's guest is Bill Hopkinson, Director of Sales at Red Squid. Now, Bill is a sales and leadership veteran. I hope you won't mind me calling you a veteran, Bill, with extensive experience across the technology and telecoms ecosystem. He also has the distinction, by the way, of being the podcast's first ever returning guest, having originally joined us back in Series 1 in 2024. Now, with Red Squid, Bill has joined one of the UK's fastest growing managed technology businesses. And over the last 24 months, the company has expanded rapidly through a combination of strong organic growth and a series of strategic acquisitions. Building on that momentum, and by continuing to strengthen its leadership team, Red Squid has also set out a clear ambition to build a group with revenues of more than £250 million and to establish itself as a category leader in the UK managed technology market. Today, I'm going to be speaking with Bill about three subjects that I believe will play an important role in maintaining that momentum and shaping the next stage of Red Squid's growth: artificial intelligence, sales culture, and cybersecurity. Bill, welcome back to the Channel's Own podcast.
Thank you very much for having me on.
Super. Good to see you again. Bill, let me try and thread these various topics together here. First, by asking how artificial intelligence, this is 2026, we have to talk about artificial intelligence. How is it changing, firstly, what your customers want and need, and what maybe Red Squid is actually able to offer? Where are we now?
Well, I think the first thing with AI is everybody's been bombarded by AI. So everywhere you go, AI this, AI that, AI the other. But there is a struggle in people's head because you are asking them to work and think in a completely different way to the way they've been trained to. And boards tend to be people of a slightly older and habit formed, right? So how do we change those habits? How do we get them thinking in a completely different way, which might be pass this job on to somebody else or do it the way they've always done it? And AI, and certainly within Copilot and other Microsoft suite, you've got these agents you can pass off these simple jobs. A, you need to identify those simple jobs. B, identify whether you should be doing them or not. And that's great, but also you need to make sure that your network is AI ready. And what do I mean by that is your permissions are in place. It's a very extreme thing, and I'm sure it wouldn't work, but you don't want people going, what's the chief exec's pay slip look like? And it appearing in front of them.
Right.
Because it's on your network, therefore Copilot said, yeah, of course you can have a look at that. So it wouldn't do that, by the way, but just as an extreme example. So you need to set up and make sure that your security and access controls are in place in your own internal LAN, and then start looking at how you can use that. And what we do is we bring our AI experts, look at how business runs, look at some of the simple tasks that they do and the repeatable tasks, and then show how we can allocate AI to that task to enable it to go away effectively and just get done in the background, and freeing up time. So AI isn't going to sack anybody yet. AI isn't going to replace humans. What it's going to do is make humans way more efficient than they've been to this point, because it's going to give them more work time and reduce admin time. And by that, you can just simply, AI starts getting a return on investment. Then you get into more complex, how does it help you if you're a design house or if you're a manufacturing house? How can it help you simplify business processes and procedures, and then gives you that bigger scale? But you need to start there because most businesses want AI but don't know how to use it.
Right.
So MSPs have to be that glue between those two statements. I want to use it, but I don't know how to use it. Well, let's show you how to use it then, because of course you want it. Everybody wants it. It's not, it's becoming so accessible. You've just got the Microsoft suite, you've got others. So that is why, for me, MSPs have to embrace the AI culture, because if they don't, somebody else will, and they'll show your customer, and that customer's trust will flip. Straight away, it will flip to whoever's shown them this wonderful new world that is helping them out in their business. So that for me, the very simple thing is you want to help your customers to get better and help them be better at what they do, but you also don't want to give anybody else opportunity to come and kind of chip away.
Do the customers know what they want, or I wonder as to whether there may be an element of, is it FOMO, kind of fear of missing out? They're reading stuff, they're having conversations, and people are possibly saying, "Oh, we're using AI and doing it." I wonder, but do they know what they want it to do?
No, I think that's the same. So they know they want it. Again, there is a bit of FOMO about it, and I went down the pub, down the golf club, on a plane. We've all met somebody that says, "Oh, I did this and I did that." Whether they did or not is a different matter. But it's also re-educating on what AI is, because a lot of people think AI is a creative force or it'll take people's job. It's not that. It's about enhancing jobs and efficiency, not replacing people. I think there used to be an adage when AI first came out: AI won't replace people, but it will replace. If you don't know AI, you will be replaced by somebody who can use AI.
Yes. Steve Jobs of Apple used to use, in the early days of kind of personal computing, but I think he was comparing it to the most efficient being on the planet at that time. I think it might be the albatross. I think in terms of energy expended and distance covered or whatever. But he said if you put a human is way behind on that scale. But if you put a human on a bicycle, then all of a sudden the human goes to the top of the charts in that respect. And I think if the personal computer or the PC took us to that level, my feeling is, and my own personal experience is, I think that AI is just literally kind of it takes you to the next level again. I'm pretty simple in my needs. I'm ChatGPT, but I speak to some people. They're using AI and seemingly achieving all sorts of things.
Look, I do board reports, and if I've got a number of AI tools I can put a board report into, and within 2 minutes, it's going to look a lot better than it would be if I produced it. I can ensure, and then I spend time worrying about the narrative of the content rather than creating the content and creating the look of the content. So that's how it makes me much more efficient in my role, because that's more important. The numbers are one thing, but it's the story behind the numbers. Great if the numbers are massively over target, not so great if they're below target, but both of those things need to be discussed. How do you maintain one and how do you avoid the other? So if I can take that worry of creation away, and just think about context and story, then that's way more efficient for me. That's just a simple thing. If you then look at other kind of creating content for marketing campaigns, creating content, some of the AI I've seen now about, I'm talking on a cold call. Well, when you then give me a sales objection, it used to be I have to be quick and think, right, okay, that objection is, and overcome it. Well, now the AI will prompt the caller and say, oh, they've said, I don't like it in white, so do you want it in any other colour then? The things we used to do automatically as salespeople, if we were that way inclined, they will do that, so enabling more people to be more efficient and to make things more successful. So the application of AI is varied, but we've got to, I suppose most businesses have got to take it away from it's running a superpowered jet fighter plane in somewhere to how do we just bring that back down to the simple tasks that I use every day, then eliminate the time I spend on it and actually make the output better. Because technology should be an enabler. This is where AI comes from. And technology is only an enabler to make your organization better. We're a technology organization, so AI needs to be used to help us get better. But if you're a widget manufacturer, then AI should be about making your widgets cheaper, more efficient, better at what they do, and then making your sales function able to sell more of them, right? So AI is applicable to every single business, but part of it is re-educating about what AI is, where to start on the journey, because AI in the back office is a completely different story to AI out in the manufacturing plants, right? These are completely different systems and thought processes. So you've got to make sure your network is ready for AI from a security and accessibility point of view. The next thing you need to do you have the power and the bandwidth? I mean, Moore's law used to be around processing power. It then became about bandwidth. It's coming back to that now because the processing power for AI is huge. And a lot of that is done in the cloud and it's just streaming to you. That's great, but it's still a lot of bandwidth, still a lot of information. Do you have the right infrastructure in your organization to be able to hold that and manipulate that data? Do you have the right device at the end? So AI on one level is, it's brilliant, wonderful, solves all my problems because people look at ChatGPT and Claude and that all sits within a normal processing section. But when you get into those more advanced AIs, you've got to think about, does my infrastructure support this?
And the expense. I've seen stuff that basically companies have unfortunately found that they're spending far more than they had anticipated. So this episode of the Channel's Own podcast is brought to you by In Connection, the trusted events agency to some of the biggest names in IT. In Connection knows that in today's fast-paced world, it's not just about delivering a return on your events investment. It's about delivering unforgettable experiences. Because some events fade within hours, while others become memories that are talked about for years. In Connection, the go-to event agency for the IT channel, creating memories that matter. These are incredible times. I said when we met 2 years ago, I think AI was on. We did talk about it then, but I think we're now all of us far more familiar with it and likely using it all the time. So you mentioned there you in your role as director of sales using it for board reports. I'm sure you're using it in other areas as well. Where else in the sales organisation? Maybe more on the front line for the sales force themselves, the salespeople. Where are they using AI now, and where do you anticipate them being able to utilise it?
I think some of the things we start, there's a lot of customizing stuff. So most people know what a QBR, quarterly business review, is. We sat down with the customer and talking about where they want to go and all that kind of. The tools now to help you in that educated view of the QBR. So things like making sure you know about the industry before you go in, making sure you have an idea of what kind of technologies you're going to push, having an informed conversation with that customer, even though you're not in widget manufacturing yourself, but you can look like you understand their industry and what their issues are. AI from a search engine capability is just is Google's SEO that's another part of, I haven't mentioned that, but that's another part. SEO has got to change because AI search is different to SEO. So you've got to make sure your website, your information, all that kind of stuff. But being able to generate, summarize, and create that first. Secondly, when you've got a customer with multiple kind of services and lots of different things going on, being able to pull that together and create a summary and say, well, these are things we do for you, these things we might want to do better for you. Even bring competitive information and go, we do this with other people, it'd be so much better if we could manage this with that and these. So using that as a tool to inform and educate customers, I think is absolutely brilliant, and also inform the conversation you have with them. AI back at the place, how I measure the effectiveness and efficiency and activity of salespeople. That's where we're starting to use AI now, so I can pick out trends quicker, and I can see where maybe people are dropping off the boil a little bit quicker, where things haven't been done that need to be done. All that information, AI being able to drag information from lots of different places for me to have a look and say, all right, okay, salesperson A, I need to speak to you because this has been dropping off and we need to adjust it. Or that you aren't very good in this area. Let's build
You always were big for your data, weren't you? So yes. it can help you massively there. And it's said as a research tool. I'm just intrigued as to what the frontline salespeople will be using it for. But it said a QBR. My guess is it said the written report. The written reports that it seems to me as if ChatGPT will just you give a simple request. It's like a McKinsey report that comes out the other end. It's extraordinary.
Absolutely. Remote teams, right? Teams, to a certain extent, as much as I prefer face-to-face meetings, but one of the advantages you have with teams, and to the point where we may even have salespeople with a Teams session running in the background when they meet face-to-face,
right?
That transcription is unbelievable.
Yeah.
So you don't get the nif naff and trivia, you get the action points, the owners of those actions, and that means there's no misinterpretation when you come out of a meeting, because you can say, well, that's what so that's what we said, and what we agreed, so I'm off to do it now, or you're off to do it, or that's your responsibility. So that just simple things like that enables. One of my big things is about control, because I think of the sales cycle. I think salespeople come out of a meeting and go, oh, I had a great meeting there. I said, right, what happened? Well, this happened, that happened. When you're seeing them next, don't know. Right, okay, let's use the transcription to agree a date, and then at the end of that, you've got clear timelines. Both of you know what you need to do, you and the customer.
Yes.
When you come back, those are done. That speeds the sales cycle up straight away, knowing full well what you need to do next. You need to go and find me, I don't know, simple things. You need to go and find me how many SIMs you've got. Great. I'll go and find out which is the best network for you. Come back in a week, you've got that information, right?
Yeah.
And it's clear actions like that.
It's extraordinary. I said the transcript. I think the transcription is great. The transcript is good, but actually reading a transcript, you realise how strangely we speak. Actually, we don't.
I'm staying away from accents, just so you know.
Well, there's that as well. And let's not forget, in the early days of ChatGPT, for some reason, seriously, I'd ask it a question, it would give me an answer written in Welsh. I don't speak Welsh, but it was. And I don't live in Wales, but it was picking up my accent. We've managed to get past that. But the transcription, reading a transcript, because you begin to see how odd conversation is. We kind of overtalk one another. We finish one another's sandwiches sometimes, let alone sentences. So there's also bits, but the summary, I just find sometimes you then say, just give us the summary. It's breathtaking. Really, it was able to literally from that conversation really understand what was taking place, and to present it in an extraordinarily stunning way. So it's been a huge help to me. I couldn't measure it, but my guess is that I'm able to produce, because it's mainly in the production of written materials in some way, shape or form, but maybe doubled my productivity, which is at this stage of my career, this is 62 years of age, fantastic. In many respects, my productivity is now accelerating rather than in times past, it would probably begin to decline.
I'm sorry, just one of the other use cases I love. Copilot, for instance, if you've got the Microsoft on your mobile phone, has a voice prompt. So how many times have you thought something in driving along thinking, oh, must do that,
yes.
Right? And then when you get home, you think, yeah, forget it altogether. I can't remember what it is you were supposed to do. With Copilot, you can just press the microphone button on your mobile or on your
device,
whatever it is, device, and say, I must remember to by next Wednesday.
Yeah.
And that will go into your actions and task list, and it will appear for you to remind you to do it. So things like that, where you've had that thought process, or even, so in the owner of our business, he's full of ideas, and what he'll find himself doing is go, I wonder what will happen if, or is this a good idea? Press the button, say it to Copilot or whatever, and that will then produce a report. We'll speak back to him as well if you want it to.
Right, yes.
We'll say, I don't know, would it be a good idea for MSSP to start selling fish? And Copilot will come back with a reason why we should.
ChatGPT would say that's a brilliant idea. That is fantastic. I mean, that's probably the one chance I did. All of my ideas, well, maybe they are, but he said everything I come up with is fantastic, really insightful.
I agree with ChatGPT, Mark.
Yes,
thank
you.
But yeah,
so do I.
But things like that, that's where the ability to act quickly on a thought and then get informed back and a record of it, by the way. So as much, we're doing a record of this conversation because it's going to go on our podcast.
Yeah.
But normally, if you were having a Teams, there's no record of that. You've got transcription. If we're having a conversation in a pub, there's no record of that.
Yeah.
Whilst this way, your conversation with your AI bot is recorded because they'll give you a voice back while you're in the moment, but will transcribe as well.
Yeah, no, speech to text is fantastic. I just wonder though, we're all probably learning to use it differently. I mean, as we've all learned, in my opinion, to use a PC differently. My way of saving a file is possibly different to the way that you save a file. My way of accessing Windows Explorer, I'm a Windows E guy. I don't know whether you would even use that shortcut. You might go the long way round. I like to think I've got a shortcut.
No, I just wouldn't use. But I tend to, yes, I'm a big on shortcuts. So that's a great example. My wife has got the brain the size of a planet, and I do mean that. I'm not just saying it in case she sees.
That's why she chose you, Bill. That's why she chose you.
I do say her only failing is a taste in men, but when she saves a document, will go up to file, down to save, and off you go.
Right.
Control S. Yeah. Because my background is a technical background, so I've always looked for shortcuts in that kind of thing. Or my wife has been taught what you do is go up to file, press save, and off you go.
Yes.
Control S just is. Which doesn't. I don't think they do it anymore. But Windows, I think one of the versions of Windows used to have a little save button, didn't it? Used to have the little.
Well, you've still got a disk, a little floppy disk. That's still there. That's still there. You say you're not using it. I use that from time to time. What I'm pleased is that I don't know. I found that for some reason I don't have to use Control Alt Delete so much anymore. I don't use it at all. There was a period when I had to use it an awful lot. I can't remember why.
Does it still work?
Yes, well, it'll still take you into Task Manager. There's other ways of getting into Task Manager, but that is. But as I said, the on-ramp to AI is pretty much everybody's been given it as it's an app that anybody getting a youngster getting a mobile phone or a smartphone for the first time effectively has access to what I would call a supercomputer. There's no real difference between what I experienced on ChatGPT and what we saw on 2001: A Space Odyssey, which was in the form of HAL. It is extraordinary, and it is. I pay for my subscription, but I believe it can be had it can be ad free. Google Gemini or ChatGPT, it's on your so it is extraordinary. So okay, so continuing with, we've been talking about the sales organization there. I would like to ask the business, so Red Squid growing organically, but also through a series of strategic acquisitions. Now, those businesses surely now need to be kind of integrated, once acquired, integrated into the business. As director of sales, how do you build a consistent, high-performing sales culture? How do you do that?
I was about to give a flippant answer. If you know, can you tell me? But
no, I don't. That's why I'm asking.
Yeah, no. For me, it's about consistency. Okay, so it's a consistency of approach. We've got, I think it's 12 different entities in our group, or over time. Got probably 4 or 5 that are still acting in some ways as a separate organisation as we go through that integration process. But for me, it's about consistency of reporting, because one of the problems of being not quite as old as you is that I've seen a lot. Yes, thanks. I've seen a lot of different ways to do it. But one thing that I've come to realise is it doesn't really matter what the end product for your organisation is. The way you measure the story towards that success is kind of consistent in sales, right? It's very simple. Do you put enough energy in? And the energy can be phone calls, meetings, proposals, whatever you want to call it. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But energy in equals success out.
Right.
Okay, you put enough energy. Now there's the nuance, because the energies can be different. The person will remain nameless, but back in the day when I worked at TalkTalk, top salesperson never went to see customers ever. Right, I made them go to see Centre Parks. So if they hear this, they'll know who they are. And the customer turned around and said, "Great to see you. Haven't seen you for a couple of years." That customer had grown every year, bought new services. But the salesperson had gotten to the point where they no longer needed to go see them face to face. They had a trusted environment, which was fine. It's great. Not how I would work, and certainly not how a classic sales leadership, managing of the process would work either. So energy in. Are you putting the right amount of energy in? Are you creating the kind of right relationships? Then are you making sure you are controlling the sales cycle? Are you putting the right things? Are you generating the right interest internally and externally? And one of the things for me, salespeople always forget, your biggest customer is actually your internal resource, not your external customers, because it's no good coming into a business giving it, I'm a salesperson, just get on with it, because they won't, right? They need sold to and cajoled just as much as customers do, because in our environment, I've got 25 other account managers. So why should your one be more important than every other one? As a sales leader, I'm going to say it's not. We've got lots of important things. You've got to work that around in your own business. Lots of them don't. So you're putting that right energy in. Those kind of things, because the endpoint is relevant. Are you making sure that the business is supporting you by not just whinging, as salespeople can do, but by saying this is a proper blocker, how are we going to sort it? And be, just as you're solution based in front of customers, be solution based in front of your own organisation. And don't, one of the things a colleague of mine recently put, it's dead easy to point at a wall and say you missed a bit. That's dead easy. Right? That's the easiest thing in the world to say that's wrong. Yeah, great. That doesn't help me though, because I can probably see it's wrong, right? What I need to know is how do we make it right? How do because if I've been painting it, it will look a mess, but how do we get up there and fill in the gap we've missed? How do we make the colour right? Whatever it is that's made the mistake of, be solution based. And this is, for me, this is about empowering salespeople, about going back towards a culture.
Yeah.
Talk about what we need to do, not what went wrong. Yes, identify what went wrong. You've got to do that. But what's the way of getting that right? I often find that if you embolden people to do that, it doesn't matter that your solution is the worst thing in the world, because it will start a conversation with somebody. Telling somebody that's wrong, get it sorted, not necessarily going to start a problem. Solve a problem or get work sorted. That's wrong. I think we should do this. Now, and I've used this many a time with technicians, because, as I said, I come from a technical background. I wasn't very good, but I was a technician one time. So I think I know the answer. Then technicians softly jump back in the head and go, there, Bill, never mind. Here's the actual answer. But that's only because I've given them a solution in the first place, right? The analogy thing is, if you try and speak French in France, they'll speak to you in English. If you speak to them English, all of a sudden they don't know how to speak English. So that's the kind of analogy that I'll run. Sorry for any French people are on, but so it's that. That's what we've got to think of. So you're empowering salespeople, measuring them and being consistent in what you measure, giving them a consistent message to talk to customers, getting an understanding of whether they buy into that. I'm not here to have a go at salespeople in any shape or form, but not every salesperson at Redsquid is, completely bought into the Redsquid message as I am. right? Now, some of that might be genuine because they think, I've papered over the cracks on some things. Some of it might just be down to misunderstanding and not really understanding the detail behind why we're doing things in a certain way. So my job is to explain why the business is going the way it is, and what direction it's picked and why, and to try and bring them along with us.
What I've seen on LinkedIn, been following, there is numerous photos and pictures. The company does seem to be moving forwards really nicely, and I see quite a lot of team-related kind of town hall type events that are taking place. So it's clearly central. The company sees it as mission critical in that respect. So that's good.
And we've got an employee ownership scheme as well, so people who join us get part of that. So there's lots of, making some of the employees, or the vast majority of employees, shareholders in our business is something that's very important to Sowen Sowen and Vince, the shareholders we have, is something that's very important to those guys, because that's buy-in. That's getting, you look at, say, NVIDIA, who had a similar kind of, or still have a similar kind of model. How many people have been in NVIDIA for a very long time? There's lots of them. Well,
yes,
you could be speaking because it's not that old of a business. But why they have gone along that journey in the video, maybe why they've stuck with it through some of the harder times, is because they can see their own personal potential at the end of that.
Yes,
doing it to make one person exceptionally rich. Yeah. Now, in the end, that one person may become. But you will.
They made many other people extremely rich as well. So. But that's a good example. I said what I've seen on LinkedIn. It all kind of I get the impression that it's all moving in the right direction. It's good to see. If I can, then I want to pick up on something when the first series is two years ago. We talked about cybersecurity, and at the time, I don't know if it was you had a crystal ball, but you said then cyber threats. And the nature, I suppose, of the kind of bad actors, the capabilities of bad actors out there was going to change dramatically. So that was 2 years ago. 2 years on, AI capabilities have accelerated rapidly. Have your predictions come to pass? And perhaps you can give some examples. AI and cyber.
Well, I think for me, those predictions weren't mine. They were just what people said to me and I thought of, and they were been right. I think I used the example then that if a cyber attack, basically, let's say an email based one, they'll use my term of voice. They'll say things like "Hey up," and if it's I don't know, if I was to call you Taff, and I wouldn't, but let's just say I did, it would say "Hey up, Taff." That's what you'd see in the email, right? So you go,
yes,
I know, you put the Welsh thing there, so. It would, and you go, it must be Bill because he said "Hey up" and he's called me by my nickname, but it's replicating. That was where that was phase one. We've accelerated massive through that. And if you've been watching the news recently, AI has been independently hacking other systems. It's made the decision
independently, though, is it? Without a scheming kind of bad actor behind it of its own volition.
Just gone out and looked, and it said compare me. I think one of them was compare our product to somebody's down the road. So, okay, great. Well, I need to find out what's going on, and then the next thing is, well, I need to know what their R&D looks like. So I need to know. So how do I find that? I'll go and have a look on their systems. Oh, I've got a problem. How do I get around this little bit of cyber security? Wow. And that's what's happened from a simple, and I genuinely believe this, from a simple kind of innocent point of view. This AI has gone out and effectively hacked competitors, suppliers, and all that kind of thing. So for me, that's where AI is properly scary. If you want to go back to certain disaster movies involving Arnold Schwarzenegger and a robot, that's where those kind of fears start coming in. Because if AI starts making those, it's not making a decision, by the way, it's following a pattern, and that's one of the other misnomers about AI. AI isn't intelligent. It takes a pattern and extrapolates it. It doesn't create. Right, so that's one of the things. AI will make something better based on what it knows, right? And that's where the human factor comes in. I'll happily be wrong soon, no doubt. But at the minute, it's not a proper creative force. It won't create something that's completely different to what went before. It'll just refine what went before to a better place. They're very subtle but very distinctive.
Well, you'll have to see. I'd read some stuff recently about how it actually, the training that it goes through and how it learns, which is all just about, really, it's about feeding it text and it just learns to predict. But I'm sure I've seen some stuff where they're saying that they don't really understand how it becomes intelligent. That's all. The training of it is basically predicting.
It's because it does so many things at once. That's the problem, right? So it can test a theory, multiple theories at the same time, and pick whichever one worked best.
Right.
And that's the difference. Whilst as humans, we tend to have to go down
sequentially. Is it? I got you.
And where you've got one human, you may have a million bits of AI doing a million different variables.
Right. I got you.
So that's where, and that is where intelligence can appear but isn't, because I read something or listened to a podcast. It was by his name escapes me, the comedian that's exceptionally intelligent.
I think I know the one you're on about. He used to do 9 out of 10 cats.
No, Blackadder used to do QI.
We'll
edit it in later.
No, we're going to go with this. We're going to get there. We've got to get there before we're going to demonstrate. We don't need AI. We don't need AI. And he did.
Remember, he was General Melchett. That's all.
Yes. I mean, Stephen. It's not. It will come, but we'll move on. He did the audio cassettes for Harry Potter. He did all of those. I've heard his. You're now checking online, aren't you? I just saw you there. And it's Stephen.
I don't know. It hasn't come up yet. I'll have a look in a second.
All right. Well, we'll insert that into the podcast. What did he say about it then?
So what he talked
Stephen
about...
Stephen Fry.
There we go, sir. There we go.
There's no. I don't have a GPU, a Vera Rubin NVIDIA GPU up here. I'm an old CPU, 286.
Oh, did you have the turbo button though? That's the thing. I can't believe there was a turbo button. But so what he talked about was, I think, is it Darjeeling? I can't remember, one of the Chinese kind of board games where they're turning it over.
All right, yeah. Mahjong, yeah.
Mahjong. So when they found out, and it is the single most complicated game,
right.
The variables are there.
Yeah.
But what became a measure of processing power wasn't winning at chess, because apparently the few million or so variables are not enough. You had to beat billions. It took a while, but it got to the point where it beat champions automatically. And it wasn't the fact that it could be better at strategizing. It could work out all the variables quicker than the human brain.
Yes.
So, and that's where AI, for me, that's what it's called. I can work out the variables better than you can, human.
Yes,
right?
yes.
I can spot the pattern quicker
than
you can. So
we can't get to Stephen Fry in under 45 seconds.
No.
We did. But
AI would have got there in
it's the speed that often also just stuns me, as I can press return on whatever question I've asked, and it's off. Yeah. I mean, it's got the whole response is already formed. Anyway, but we can talk, but
AI is that. So, but if you can imagine that hacking people by almost not by accident.
Yes.
Doesn't take a long big jump from bad actor to say, right, okay, I want to use that capability to do things in a targeted way.
Yeah.
And therefore, one of the things we have to start talking about as businesses, and this isn't, because I always used to get the feeling that cyber is a little bit, you're going to die if you don't do this. It was a bit like, I don't know.
Yes. No, it was. It's sold a lot of time on threat, basically, on fear.
Yes, yeah. It is a bit of fear, but it's also about how do you use it, right? So because you need to put AI into your cyber defense, because you need AI to defend against AI. If you don't have that, and in the UK right now, where's all the spending going? It's going into defense. Well, if you haven't got a proper cyber secure infrastructure, you can't work within the cyber supply chain.
No.
And by the way, as often happens, the Rolls-Royce version, which is what this will be seen at, will trickle down to the rest of the business. Already, we're seeing major retailers. They won't allow you in their chain if your cyber's not there. Why? Because they don't want you coming back into them and stealing their data, not because you wanted to or you were going to do it,
right?
Because you have a bad actor within your organisation.
Right.
That'd be normally software, not person, by the way.
Yes.
So those are things that what we need to start thinking about and understanding, because the fact that this, as you said before, AI is free, but that means it's also free and easy to get hold of and be used the way you want it to be as a business owner, which is to protect your business and your data. So those for me are the two biggest pillars going forward.
Yeah.
It's not just about being cyber secure, but it's utilizing the power of AI to combine that.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you know anything about cyber, you'll know that as soon as you put a cyber defense in, it's out of date the minute it goes live, because somebody will already be working on how to get around that.
Right.
And nothing is infallible. If you have AI that constantly works with the setting you start with to improve it constantly, then your chances of beating the AI looking for a weakness is much better. So these are things for me I think are going to be the very big, powerful piece of AI, is looking after your cyber resilience and security of your organization, keeping it up to date, and keeping the changing of attacks away.
Well, we'll come back to it in 2 years' time, and we'll see how good the predictions were then. Just a couple of last questions here. Now, I'm currently working with an energy transition company called Egg, owned by Liberty Global, by the way. So the same people that owned Virgin Media back in the day. So when I was looking into the Red Squid business, my attention was peculiarly drawn to the news that Red Squid became a carbon neutral business in 2021. Has an awful lot of stuff on the website about corporate social responsibility, seems to take it very, very seriously, raised lots of money for various causes. But looking at as I said, at the green side of it, the carbon neutral element to it, putting aside the benefits of the planet, how does that green effort, how does it impact the business? Has the certification meant that do customers appreciate it? Do they value it? Do they demand it? I mean, I know it makes us feel good, but what's the typical response in the market?
So there's two parts of this. There's the commercial argument, which I'll come to second, but the first one is the belief thing. So Son and Vince, our shareholders, and our chief exec lady called Camilla Calm, they have a passion for they're of a, dare I say, to slightly younger generation than myself, and slightly more aware of these.
Right.
Certainly, than you and I were back in the 80s, driving around in big smoky cars and all that kind of bit.
Still am.
Yeah, there you go. So, so they're very much their version of wealth and legacy is subtly different to maybe the people that we followed back in those days. In that their legacy wants to be, I left the place cleaner than it was.
Right.
Their legacy wants to be about how they helped educate people who are from poor backgrounds. And one of the things at my previous role, when we went through COVID, I was shocked to discover how many households don't have broadband. Now, you and I, that's a staple, right? Mm-hmm. But these people don't. Not only do they not have access to laptops, even if they did, it didn't matter because they don't have the ability to pay for broadband. So helping those kind of, CSR, ESG, whatever you want to call it.
I think you mentioned books as well. I think you've done this. I've seen there's numerous projects I think that the company has been involved in. But on the carbon neutral side, though, because I don't know, does that come up sometimes with organisations where it is literally a demand?
Yes, especially if you want to work.
Table stakes, it's expected now.
Yes, so public sector, for instance, large parts of your scoring of a tender will be about, now we're B Corp standard, which is quite unusual, but it will be about your ability to not affect the world, so in a negative way. So that, from my point of view, from that was what I was saying before about the commercial piece, yes, having that badge, if you will, enables a lot of doors to be open because they understand that. And by the way, I neither know nor are going to go into how our customers' motivation may be, because it may be just window dressing, it may be a genuine passion like it is at our organisation. But even if it is just that, to be seen to be doing, right, it's a massive thing because as much as I'm probably of the wrong generation to be talking about pollution, I have a passion about it because, I've got children. I want them to have a nice place to live and breathe. And if they have children themselves, I want them to have a nice place to live and breathe into. So that is, for me, what the commercial thing allows, gets you through doors. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
And organisations want to be seen to be using other organisations with a similar kind of mindset to ourselves.
I was always under the impression also that it's because of ESG, which is the kind of, what's the E stand for?
Economic, social, governance.
Economic, social, and governance side. As you said earlier about the supply chain having issues about you as a supplier on a cyber side, you know what I mean, and make sure that our suppliers and our partners aren't going to create any risk with regards to cyber. I think it's the case also on the environmental side that the supply chain needs to be clean. It's as if whatever carbon you use, it goes into it passes up the chain. So I have a feeling that with some organisations you would have to be, if not carbon neutral, certainly being shown with a roadmap to get there. But from what I've read online, as I said, the B Corp certification, but also certified carbon neutral business in 2021. So I would have said you're kind of ahead of the game.
We definitely were. I think it's, when all said and done, I think it's gone from maybe 15, 20 years ago, it was seen as, wouldn't it be cute? And all that kind of stuff. It's just a marketing tool. And there was a lot of what they call greenwashing.
Recycling and whatever. Yeah.
Or we got recycling bin in the corner that we never emptied.
Yes,
all that kind of, to something now where it's much more monitored, managed, and used as a proper tool within business.
Yes.
Because the other side of it is, done properly, it makes your business more efficient, right? Because the less waste you put into the world, the more efficient you become as a business. So that's that to kind of think of. But also and hopefully this, not that I'm a massive socialist, but this idea that business can interact with the community, not just in the carbon neutral piece, but also investing in community projects and other bits and pieces. That has to be done. Now, there are always ulterior motives to this thing, right? If we do that, and somebody who becomes the next Steve Jobs is part of that process and benefits it, they're always going to look at us in a good light. They may come and work for us in 5, 6, 10 years' time. They may be the next best employee. So it's not just altruistic. It is also about doing that, but also making sure we give the best opportunity, without giving it a big woe is me. I don't come from a super middle class educated background. So I had some help along the way. I'll freely admit that. And if I can be part of helping somebody similar along that journey and giving them a view of where they could be, we brought some people in our Boreham Wood office to the work experience, I think they still call it, from school, showing that kind of organisation and showing where they could be part of that and all the things that are available. And we aren't just super techies, nerdies looking at the internet. We are actually a business that does lots of other things as well.
Yeah.
I think for me, it's something that's very, very important. It's about, because the legacy, when I hopefully in the next 5, 6 years disappear from work, my legacy will not be anything other than the people I've helped while I was there. Once I became a leader a few years back, that's going to be my legacy. I helped people go from here to there. And by the way, that doesn't always mean earnings. That could be career, it could be learnings, it could be anything. So as long as I've helped people go in the majority of that way, I think that's where we've got to look. We've got to readdress as a society sometimes what success is. And it isn't just about, I'm not going to get into a big thing about Americans, but the American model, which is about making 1 or 2 people exceptionally rich, thank you very much, it is about how much more can we do as a world.
It's odd. They said I would say at least the last 2 or 3 of the recordings I've done on the podcast, the same sentiment has come up a number of times, where activities taking place within businesses about raising money for certain charities or whatever. It seems to, I don't know if it's more prevalent now than it used to be, or just I seem to be having more conversations about it. But I again was drawn to on your website. There seemed to be, it wasn't just about the carbon neutral element. There was a load of other stuff about the other projects and what other things that you're doing in the community. So hats off to that. Last question for you, Bill. The sponsor of our podcast is In Connection, and on behalf of our sponsors, I've been asking all of our podcast guests for the last 2 series to name their most memorable corporate event, be it a partner event, hospitality, a team event, a kick-off, or a president's club. What's your favourite? What's your most memorable event?
I've had to take, So I think some of them I'm happy to talk about.
Correct. Some of them are memorable for the wrong reasons.
Some of them are memorable for completely the wrong reasons, and the guilty will remain nameless on this call. But I think for me, probably the most recent one I did, and that's probably a cop out because it's the most recent one. I was able to take a bunch of the most successful salespeople in my team at that time over to Dubai. We spent a few days out there. The team building was off the charts. We had a great time, and it was really for me, it was a really lovely way to give back to those people who had significantly added to the success of the business I was in at the time. Also, I think nice thing, it was the amount of them. It was over a third of the sales function went. It was an over 100% achievement club, and over a third of the sales team did over 100%. So
if anyone did 100%, they got to go. It wasn't just the top 10 people. It was if 30 did it, right? Okay.
Yeah, and we had people who from our SDR team who'd contributed by creating leads and meetings for the BDMs. We had a desk-based account manager. Yeah, they'd done in pound, shillings, and pence. They'd done less than everybody else, but they'd still massively hit their target. And then we had some others that had done some massive deals. So having those people together and watching the bonding happen, and watching, some of them were quite young and not quite sure where they were going and what they were doing. So watching some old people bring them into that little group. Watching some people tell some stories they shouldn't tell, watching some people do some stupid things. It was brilliant, and for me, it will always stick in my memory. We did a boat trip and went across Dubai as the sun was setting. Just lovely. It was, and I will never forget how honoured I was to be able to facilitate that for people, take part in it, and just enjoy the success that was around me. It wasn't mine, it was theirs. So that's fine.
And it does, I think, the way you're describing it there links back to when we talked about sales culture earlier on, because I've always felt that a sales it's always, I think, in my opinion, they seem to have them in all sales organizations. Maybe it is one of the fundamental building blocks of that's a positive, high performing sales culture, is to have that kind of and it's a form of reward and recognition. And it said, and from the sounds of it, and from the conversations I've had with others on the podcast, these are memories that can last a lifetime. I've got memories of the first ever incentive trip that I went on in 1987. So super. I'm assuming then. Thank you. But I'm assuming then, you have a President's Club or something at Red Squid as well?
Yeah, we have a multi-tiered one named after the shareholders. So we've got, I think it's got to be there, right? It doesn't matter if it's one person or it's a whole sales function, preferably the whole sales function, obviously. But it's one of the things I talk about will and skill. Skill is something that can be learned. Will can't be, right? You've either got the will to go out and be determined to do something, or you don't. The example I always use is there are better footballers than Messi in the world right now, but they're sat on a settee getting fat, having a fag because they've got no will, right?
Right.
Because they don't desire it. They don't.
Yes, got you.
But their skill set is infinitely better than his, but they've no application of it. So that is why a lot of footballers, and certainly in the lower leagues, they probably aren't the most skillful, but they work harder than everybody else. So the manager knows they might not be Messi, but they're going to put a shift in. Yeah. And so I'm looking for those, because sales isn't as intricate as football. So if we can get the will, we can teach the skill, right, to a certain extent and to varying levels.
Yes. So, and the incentive trip helps galvanise that will, because the other thing is, do you not want to be on there? Because so it's a case of I've got to put in the extra effort, or I won't be there.
No, the will is the competitiveness. Part of that is I can tell you the last time I was the bottom of the sales chart. I can give you the date and I can give you the year. I can also give you the excuse, which was I'd spent 3 weeks of the month off with German measles, but it still kills me. Right. In July 2002, I was at the bottom of a sales chart. It will always bug me because I'm a competitive person, and I believe if you're going to be successful in sales, part of that will and that drive is to be the best person in the room by whatever definition is on the PowerPoint.
No, listen, super conversation. We're going to call it a day there. Thank you for coming back and being the returning guest from 2 years ago. I think we'll be doing it again in the not too distant future.
Thank you very much, Mark.
I might see you before then, but until the next time, Bill, thanks once again. All the best.
Thank you, man. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Cheers.